welcome back to AFL from LA. I'm Cindye, and I'm here with the person you kind of love to hate, Andy from Ankle Sore.
Hey, Cindye.
It's that time, man. It's
I know.
2 more games.
It's insane. It's insane. It's gone so quick.
Where did it go? You know, this time last year, I was in Paris.
You were.
I watched the preliminary final in a bar in Paris. I was recognized for the first and only time, which was
amazing.
Kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this year's prelim final, not as glamorous in my LA spot. So first game, Sydney versus Port. It's going to be a Friday night game at the SCG. So Port apparently found a heart.
Yeah, the one I said they didn't have.
Yeah, you got a lot of flack for that this week, didn't you?
Oh, well, everyone's a genius in hindsight, right?
Yeah, that's true. I'm wondering, do the Port fans and Ginnivan, were you the reason that they were able to win? Do they owe you a thank you?
Don't know about me. More Jack Ginnivan, I reckon. I reckon he had a fair say in it.
Oh, geez, Ginnivan. Port came out swinging, man. There was an intensity there that I think we hadn't seen a lot of.
But I did say last week they'd probably show up for the first half with that fight.
Yeah.
I didn't think they'd
Yeah.
carry on for 4 quarters, so good on them for doing that.
Yeah, I believe you actually said they were going to, well, I'm not
yeah.
quoting you,
No,
but
no.
you thought they were going to be beaten very badly. I was going to say that have their asses
Yeah.
handed to them, but that's not what you said.
It's not what I said, but in a roundabout way, it's what I meant.
You expected a blowout, basically.
I did. And
Yeah.
considering Hawthorn never really got going and they only won by a couple of points, Port Adelaide, I guess,
Yeah.
I won't say I'm justified, but like if Hawthorn got going, which they weren't allowed to, that credit to Port Adelaide, it
Yeah.
probably would have been a blowout.
I thought it would be close, and look, there it was.
You
It just
got
went
it.
the opposite way. So about Ginnivan's comments or his tweet, if he gave Port even, 10% more energy, and they still only lost by, a couple points? Can Ginnivan actually be that responsible for losing that game?
Well, if you said 10%, he's 100% responsible because they always say that if you're off by 1% in an AFL game, you
Yeah.
can lose. So if it's 10%,
All right.
it's all Ginnivan's fault. Now,
That sounds like a lot then. 1% over 10%.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly. It's massive.
10
So
times.
I'm going to turn the tables here. I've got a question for you.
Okay. Yeah.
Last week you said Ken Hinkley was a swell guy.
Swell. Yeah.
That's what you said. Is he still a swell guy?
I have mixed feelings about the whole thing. I mean, the whole issue of him, the airplane thing, and then the response by Sam Mitchell, it's so juvenile. All of it is so juvenile. However, I mean, Ginnivan poked the bear. It's emotional. There was his job's on the line. He's only human. But yeah, was it stupid? I mean, of course it was stupid. But, Sam Mitchell's response, well, I'm not talking to him.
Yeah, it's just as bad. I agree.
Come on. It's just, where are the grown-ups? So is Hinkley still swell? Yeah. I mean, I think you can't judge him by, one misstep. I mean, how have you seen him act like that ever before? I mean,
Yes.
is there any evidence?
Yes.
You have?
I have.
Oh, well, tell me, because I'm
Well, not directly to a player, but they played in a showdown about 3-4 years ago in Adelaide, and he was in the coach's box. They won by a couple of points, and he did like
Okay.
a number or something to the Adelaide fans or something. So he wears his heart on his sleeve.
Okay.
I'll be honest, the competitor
Yeah.
in me loved it, but as an AFL coach,
Yeah.
it's bad form. What happens? I said this on our podcast. What happened if Ginnivan went over and punched him one?
Oh,
Exactly.
excitement. I mean,
Well,
everybody would have loved it.
Yeah, but it's not what the AFL want, right? So it's kind of like you're
Yeah.
inciting something. And look, Ginnivan sent out a tweet. It wasn't directly to Ken Hinkley.
Yeah.
So the classy thing to do would be to send a tweet back via the Port Adelaide Football Club. That would really burn him,
I think it was actually a comment on Grundy's
Oh,
post.
there you go.
I think it was
Said
it was
see
a
you
comment.
in 2 weeks or something. 4
I mean,
days, yeah.
look, I think ultimately the whole thing got overblown, but
It did.
We saw Josh Frichelli with his toothless comment, a few weeks earlier.
Again to Port Adelaide, right?
Right. I know.
What is it with Port
Everybody's got
Adelaide?
it in for Port, right?
And they reckon I've got it in for him.
Look, I like Port, but it seems like I must have. I mean, if you watch my videos, you probably think I have it in for them too. But look, if you're gonna talk shit, you got to be prepared to back it up, and if you can't back it up, you have to suffer the consequences. So
Agreed.
you're going to be all cute and clever, and then you lose. Well, I'm sorry. That's part. All's fair in love and war.
I agree.
So then, what's the criticism of these former players that are chirping on about Ken Hinckley?
They're former players for Hawthorn, so they're going to defend their club.
Yeah.
You live in Hollywood, right? This is a
Yes.
Hollywood script this season. This season of AFL football is a Hollywood script.
It's insane. It's
every,
really insane.
Every week there's a new story.
It's been amazing and horrifying all at the same time.
It's funny. There's more stories off the field this year than there are on the field.
Let me ask you this. Did Port just play their grand final?
Oh, 100%. I was in the shower this morning and I was thinking the exact same thing. You stole my line. I was actually going to say that to you. Port played their grand final last weekend.
Great
so
minds.
That's it.
So to answer the question, who loses and why?
Port, because they played their grand final. Thanks for the tip.
That's it. That's all they had to give?
Yeah. That's it. That's
Okay.
it.
What do you think the margin on this one's going to be?
6 goals plus.
6 goals plus. So if that's the case, does Ken Hinckley coach his last game for Port?
Are you asking my opinion?
I don't know. Is there somebody else in the room? What? I mean, obviously you listen to other shows. You listen to people talk about it. You have your own. So what do you think?
I think, well, you haven't made a grand final again. It's been 13 years and you've
Yeah.
never made a grand final. You can get as far as a prelim every year, but that's a failure for me. If you don't get better every year.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, they don't have the list to win a premiership. It was obvious last week to kick 11 goals and win a final, like that's not great.
Yeah.
So personally, I think he has.
If Port actually lose by 10 goals, can they not fire him?
Yeah, if they get beaten, badly like they did the first week of the finals, he should be removed.
I haven't answered yet who loses and why.
Yes, go for it.
Sorry, Port fans. I think Cindye are going to win. One good game does not make a grand finalist. I've heard rumors there could be a problem with Horn Francis.
He went off with a hamstring. I don't know if it was a strain or a cramp. I mean, knowing Ken Hinckley, he's playing because he's silly like that.
By the way, I learned something this week. You want to know what I learned?
Yes, go.
That you can agitate Horn Francis very easily to get free kicks.
Yeah.
There were 3 50-meter penalties. That's what I would be saying. Okay, go piss him off. Go piss him off.
Absolutely.
There's no... I mean, I don't know if you just chalk that. I mean, he's young. I guess it's immaturity.
Young, yeah.
Just piss him off enough, So if he's injured and you piss him off,
Yep.
that's
Win-win.
my game plan. There you go.
There you go.
I think Sydney's going to the grand final this year.
I think so too.
Moving right along, Geelong versus the Lions. It's a Saturday night game at the MCG. It's a home game for Geelong.
Somewhat.
Oh, AFL. Okay, I've been holding this in for at least 24 hours.
I was going to say, you didn't mention the previous game.
How was Sam Taylor pinged for insufficient intent when he was being pushed and falling forward and the ball hits him in the shoulder? How or his forearm, whatever. How was he pinged for that? Because you all were very confident that it was absolutely that he was being deliberate or whatever.
Okay, I'll tell you how. But
Tell me
first,
how.
you have to do me a favor. You have to take off your orange shades, okay?
Never.
So normally...
Oh, no, you've driven me to drink. Look what happened
I'm
here.
sorry. I'm sorry. Normally when a player propels the ball out of bounds, when there's no other player present, that's a free
Yeah.
kick every day of the week. So I had no problem with it, honestly. How was a kick by Joe
So-
Danaher? That was a brilliant goal, though.
Yeah, we're going to get to that old Danaher
Are we?
thing.
You sure? I thought we were going to miss it. That's why I'm sort of chiming in here.
No, we're getting to it.
Okay.
So,
All right.
so my other question for you, ankle sore, you're gonna get the heat for all three of you.
Jeez.
Okay.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
What did you think of GWS's multiple goal scorers? Because allegedly all they had was Jesse Hogan, but I don't know. Jesse Hogan scored five, but there were 10 more.
Okay.
3 by Toby Green, 2 by Peatling.
Yep.
Even Briggsy scored one.
Oh, no.
Lucky Ash. Cadman, another tall forward. Seriously, boys.
So how many did Jesse Hogan kick? 5, right?
Yeah.
And they still lost.
No, but that's not the point. The
So-
point is that, but you guys think that all they have is Jesse Hogan. And I'm thinking, well,
That's fair. That's a fair
Yeah.
comeback. I'll cop that
Yeah.
on the chin for the
Okay.
ankle sore,
Thank you.
for all the
Thank
ankle
you.
sore boys.
I believe ultimately that Kingers was outcoached.
You think?
The Giants were like full throttle, balls to the wall for like 3/4 of the game, just like they were the week before. You can't keep up that level of intensity. And to be
Yeah.
honest, like Brisbane looked a little like, not lethargic, but they looked a
They were a
little
bit
like,
sluggish. You're right. They were a bit sluggish in the first half, yeah.
I'm thinking that Fagan was like, listen,
Just
don't
wait.
work too hard. Wait a bit until the end and then go. Now, I'm sure they were sweating because I don't think they expected to like let them
course.
get 44 points ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a bitter pill to swallow, and not to mention then having to like totally rip them apart on the show.
Well, they deserved it, let's be honest.
No, they don't, my babies. Okay,
44
so
points. It's the second highest comeback in finals history. Come on.
do you think the premiership window has closed for GWS?
1,000%.
1,000%?
They don't even play finals next year.
Wow. I can't wait for next year. I
Mid-September
can't wait.
2024, I'm telling you this,
can't
a
wait.
year in advance.
So this is good. I'm glad that we're getting to this because it sounds like you're saying to me that Stephen May is the best fister. No, just kidding. A little inside joke. It sounds like you're saying to me that they're too old to possibly win a premiership.
Not because they're old. I just feel
Okay.
two things. I don't think Alan
Yeah.
Kingsley's got a plan B, which is evident.
Okay.
And I don't think Jesse Hogan can play any better.
But just to argue that, Cadman has actually had a really good season. He was a number 1 draft pick, and he's been coming on, and he's young. Then you
100%.
have Daniels, who the last couple games, unfortunately, Daniels was not his best. And it's funny because it's always like he just got a big contract. It's always right after they get the big
of
contract,
course.
they kind of
They get
fall
lazy,
off a little
yeah.
bit.
They just sit on their couch and
You
we've
know?
got the money now, yeah.
They have got that little Darcy Jones,
Yep.
who again this past game a little fumbly, just moving too fast, couldn't pick up the ball.
Didn't do too much, did he?
You know, look, he's only played, I don't know, a handful of,
Yeah, maybe
a couple
10.
handfuls of
Yeah.
games. Their seniors are still great, and I look to maybe your premiership favorite team, Geelong, as the epitome of, oh, they're too old, they can't do it anymore.
But Geelong go out and get Bailey Smith, so they do it every year. They go and get a star every year.
All right. Who
Who did you tip last week?
I tipped the Giants to win.
Okay.
I
Who
tipped
did I
Brisbane
tip?
to lose. Oh, you did it as like a lark. You were like, oh, I'm just going to go with Brisbane. So come on. Nobody saw that happening. Let's actually talk about the Lions a little bit.
Yes,
since
please.
they won. So great effort. I mean, they pulled it off. But okay, so Danaher is now like the savior of Brisbane. He was an absolute crab for 3/4, but he kicks the final goal, and now praise the Lord, Danaher. I mean,
That's how it works.
we'll get to the who loses and why.
Okay.
Go for it.
Well, what do you want me to say about Danaher?
No, who loses and why?
Oh, who loses and
Geelong
why?
versus Brisbane. Come on, let's get on with it.
This is going to be closer than you think.
Yeah?
I've got an issue with Lachie Neale's foot. He was in the moon boot yesterday. I don't like that one bit.
Okay.
I think
What is it?
Brisbane lose just. And when I say just, under 10 points.
I think they lose also. I'm Team Geelong at the moment. I'm
You jumped on my
putting
wagon, have you?
I've jumped on your listen. My cat Isidore has been cheering for the Cats for many years now.
You've told me that.
I think he's onto something. I think this game is gonna separate the men from the boys.
Are you still bitter about GWS, or is that why you're tipping?
No, I think it's genuine. I don't have
Okay.
anything against Brisbane. I'm sad and in shock that the Giants actually lost. However, I mean, Brisbane, they played hard. They came back and they won the game. I mean, who's that little blondie on that team?
Will Ashcroft, I knew you were going to ask about him.
No,
He's a
not
star.
Ashcroft.
Oh, Kai Lowman, that little smart ass.
And by the way, I was cheering for Brisbane last year against Collingwood. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, you're allowed to say that. So was I, actually.
Oh yeah, you would definitely have as a Carlton supporter. Okay, so it's a Saturday night game.
Mm-hmm.
Where will you be watching it, and what will you be eating?
I'll be watching it on my sofa. You guys call them
Okay.
sofas. I won't be cooking that night. I guarantee you. I actually might have a crack at those nuggets.
You should totally record yourself eating the nuggets just so
Not
people
100.
could,
I said I might have a
Not
crack at
100,
some.
but you know.
Drinking, I guess it depends on the game. I'll see the first quarter out and see how it is. And
Okay, so we've just established that you think it's going to be a Sydney Geelong grand final.
so do you.
Yes, I did too. And want to make any predictions right here and now?
Oh, no, I'm not game enough. I'll wait until next week. Thanks.
Okay, so now let's get to the more fun part here. Carlton has been delisting a lot of people, and I don't know. Are you responsible? Are you single-handedly responsible for the delisting of the Get Out?
I've had a fair say,
Get
haven't I? I've had a
out.
fair influence on the whole list, I reckon. I think it was obvious. Like, if that club needs to go forward, the likes of Marchbank and Cunningham and Jack Martin, you know, they went on the park. What's the point?
So they told Matthew Kennedy that he should start looking elsewhere.
Disgusting.
They told
Matthew Owies?
Yeah,
I've got no
Owies?
issue with that. He's 28,
Yeah.
out of contract. Bye-bye.
your favorite of the delisting is...
Jack Martin.
I saw that. I thought, oh my God, Andy is going to be thrilled.
Do you know he was touted when he was in the draft as
Yeah.
could be the greatest AFL footballer of all time?
I've heard that, but isn't his issue mostly that he's always injured? Is that
Yeah,
what it
true.
is, or
But
no?
even when he's not, he doesn't
Okay.
exactly set the world alight. Like, I can't remember too
Yeah.
many games where anyone said, oh, Jack Martin won this game for Carlton, or even Gold Coast. He came from Gold Coast. That says it all.
So rumor has it that he might be going to Freo.
If he goes to Freo, 100 Nuggets, Freo don't play finals next year. Right here, right now.
You heard it here, folks. The next stupid bet that Andy has decided to make. I thought we talked
What do you mean
about this.
stupid
I thought
bet? They didn't play finals. It was a great bet. St Kilda didn't play finals. Great bet.
You were this close to eating 100 nuggets. This close.
You know what?
I mean,
Brisbane were this close last year, but they didn't raise the cup, did they? So it
Boys.
doesn't matter how close. It's irrelevant.
You boys don't lose. You don't learn your lesson.
Okay. Well, he needs to go there first. They'd be ludicrous to get him.
All right. Well, that is it from AFL from LA and Ankle Sore today. I hope the team you're rooting. Oh, I'm not allowed to say rooting for.
You're
It's
not.
American.
Barracking.
The team you're barracking for wins. Have a good one.